you hear it? Do you hear that sound like a grown man taking a splashing bath? That's my dog Sadie drinking. He she came to us from a wait, I think my wife is here, and there's her lightning. She's going to be listening. She's going to grab something from my office to show you, and she's going to be drinking her devil root. Devil root is a drink that I think I made up. It's half Fireball whiskey, Fireball cinnamon whiskey, and half root beer. It's really sweet, and she loves it. So anyway, she's gonna be drinking that. And evidently Sadie's gonna drink everything. Okay. So last video, you saw a row of names, book names. Some of them you probably recognized, a lot of them you didn't. Those are the books that I have written. And I think 16 of them are published, and there's 35 of them. So the others will be published in the future. I publish every April 15th and October 5th. So next one coming out is called Scorch. And that comes out October 5th. So yeah, so I showed you that. I'm going to take a picture and show you a picture of my desk right now. And there's nothing really of note on my desk today. I just like to show it to you guys and let you know what I look at when I write, and what I look like, what I look at when I'm looking at you. We're going to go over the aftermath of Guardians War. I'm going to be reading you another chapter from my autobiography about that. And we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to talk about the Bramble situation that has been following us through this. Okay, so what I'm going to read you now is a, oh wait, I forgot to show you something from my office. We're going to let Becca pick. Becca, walk around here and find something to show them. Oh. Okay. So by my on the side over here, there's chairs, and they're chairs for people to sit down on. We talk and hang out with various friends, and I keep a bunch of stuff on the table between the two chairs, stuff for people to play with, and I'll show you some of that. But one of the things that I keep is this right here. I bought this, I'm gonna leave that there. I bought this at a flea market, and I bought it. I was walking through one of the aisles and I saw it, and of course you see one of these, you just have to chime it. And I heard a commotion, up at the front by the desk. And then I heard, oh, it's just that one. And I didn't know what they were talking about. Well, when I decided to buy it, I went up to the counter and I realized that there's another one of these on the counter. So you're supposed to ring the bell if you need somebody to come and help you at the counter. But they also had one of these on one of the shelves on one of the displays. And so people were ringing this, and for weeks, months, I don't know, a year, every time somebody went through there, they rang that. And the people that worked at the place didn't know if the ring was coming from the counter or if the ring was coming from the display. So when I walked up there and they saw that I had it, they were super glad to be selling it and getting it out of the store. Anyway, it sits on the table over there. And what you're supposed to do is, if you get a good zinger in, if you get a good point in, anytime you do something notable, you're supposed to hit that. And for a long time, it was the case, but people have gotten out of the habit of it. So anyway, that's that. I'm going to leave that there for you guys to look at. It's the first one I've ever seen that had a red base, so I think that's kind of cool. Anyway, okay, let me go and get what I'm going to be reading for you guys tonight, and we'll jump right in. Okay. Okay, so the last episode was about a woman called Urgent that helped me get different services that I needed. This takes place right after that. Now I'm living on, like I was mentioned in Urgent, I'm living on Job's couch, and we have a roommate. His name is Anton, and Anton has reached the point where he's tired of my shit. The guy thought that I should be cleaning up all his messes and being his house servant. The problem is I was going through such intense therapy that I couldn't do that. He expected to be able to just order me around and make me do things because he had a job and I didn't. But he was starting to get to the point where he was so tired of me that he would leave for days at a time. And at this point, he has done that. He has left. And he's just coming back. This place takes place in 2001, right after I figured out that I have DID, and right after we started discovering the different alters. Conductor, 2001. In the summer of 2001, the game changed forever. A bridge was created that changed it all. I'll preface this by saying that it's amazing that what the human mind can do, and by saying that this is all true. Some of the experts that know this disorder will dispute this as impossible, but if they were here to learn, then I will tell them, and I will tell you the one event that gave us more hope than any other. I will describe to you the creation of Conductor. Things with Anton were exploding. He'd stopped coming home for a while because he hated me so much, and finally one day he did drive back into the driveway. Me and Job were in the front porch swing, and when he walked up to us, he pointed at me and pointed at the house. This is a meeting for those that pay rent at this house, so get your ass off the porch and let me and Job talk, he spat. No one pays rent at this house, Anton. Job paid a mortgage, but you've not paid a dime in rent. I looked at Job, who looked at me, and shook his head. Well, ever, I do think. That means that you owe Job. Then out of the bottom swooped the force. It came up like it did in my mother's kitchen one day, and our passion died on the air as the mind within us went to work. $556 a month divided by 2 brings us to 278 plus the car. Let's not forget that you never paid for the car that Joe bought you. That was 9 months ago. That car payment is 215 times 9 brings us to 1,935. And with 4 months rent on top of that, we have another 1,103 to bring us to $3,038 and likely some change as well. It was instantly gone. And I stood back blinking as Shadow stepped forward. Yeah, so if you want to be paying member of this house, cough that amount up and I'll go into the kitchen and let you two have fun. Shadow said. He had no idea what the number had been. He had no idea what the thing had been that had done the math. That was all math he was incapable of. He stepped forward and Anton looked at Job. Tell this piece of shit to leave us alone so we can talk, Anton began, but Shadow was faster. Me? So you could talk about me? Isn't that right, Anton? Shadow said. Yeah, fucker. We're going to talk about how you and how far we are going to kick you out of this house. Job's done carrying your ass, Shadow said to Anton. You're a shitty friend. You bust him down all the time, and I will not let it go on. Anton looks at Job. You two work it out, Job said. Guardian surged forward, and Anton turned to us. You son of a bitch, you turned him against me, Anton said. Now the fight was raging, but within us there was a strange thing taking form. It was being crafted right before our eyes, being built from different mixtures of different altars. It was taking charge of the situation, and it pulled Guardian back and shoved this assassin forward. Assassin had been pulled from deep in the back of all of it, but he stepped forward and the entity that had done the math touched him, and he knew everything. He knew instantly where we were and where we were in the conversation. He knew what had been said, and he knew what to do about it. His left hand dropped to his side, but did not twitch towards his knife. He just looked Anton in the eye. Assassin dropped the cold eye of a killer on Anton, who stomped away, shaking his head. You're a liar, Jesse, he yelled. We all know it. We all know it. Everyone talks about it. Assassin pulled back and Shadow shoved forward, which was shoved forward. See, he had come. This little bit of argument had created the altar we would all learn to call Conductor. Conductor could summon us up and shove us forward. He could give us a job and we would do it. He had a certain amount of authority that we had not bowed to before. He had a situation in hand and he was watching it all like a player playing a game. I might be a liar, Shadow said. Why don't you tell me what I lied about? And I'll see if you're right. You lie about everything. Then you should have no trouble summoning up an example. The stick fight, Anton yelled. You lied about the stick fight. So many in my past. Tell me which one did I lie about? When you told us about the one time you fought Harvard, you said he was huge, a massive, angry Viking. But Job is dating Chanel now, and she told us he was only 6'1". That is hardly huge, Jesse. Maybe you should give him a call, give him a fucking club, and send him after your punk ass, Anton. Then you can tell me how big he is. Anton glared at me and Shadow leaned forward. He is fucking massive, Anton. Huge beyond belief. Anton walked away, and Guardian looked at Job. Do you want us to take this inside? Guardian said. Job nodded. Maybe outside's not the place for this. He walked in, and the screen banged behind him. Get inside, Guardian said. Don't tell me what to do, Jesse, Anton said. Well, friend, if you want to talk to me any further, then we'll have to retire to the living room. Guardian got as far as the door and looked back at Anton. I hope you come so we can work this out. Guardian was ripped away, and out came Shadow. If not, you can get the fuck off the porch. Go back to your stolen car and never come back. He slammed the screen behind him and walked in. Anton stomped in behind him, and Shadow walked to the far side of the living room. He glared at Anton for a moment before grinning. Anton looked up at him. You think this shit is funny, bitch? Anton said. He stormed across the room, and Assassin was shoved forward. Assassin turned his back on Anton, reached down to stroke his knife pocket, and waited. He knew that Anton would not hit him with his back turned, and if he grabbed him to turn around, Assassin knew how to grip that wrist, twist it, and make it worthless. Anton steamed. He nearly screamed, and he stomped away. Assassin was pulled back by Conductor, and out came Guardian. What do we need to do to live in peace, friend? Guardian asked. Anton turned and pointed across the room at Guardian. Don't say friend. You and I are not friends. Good to know, Guardian said. I will proceed with the conversation as enemies. Guardian nodded and squared his shoulders. Tell this piece of shit to get out of our house, Job, Anton said. His, Shadow said. What did you just say? Anton raised. Shadow grinned, and very slowly, and with as much swagger as he could muster, casually walked across the living room. He tucked his hands behind his back and stopped a breath away from Anton. His house, not yours. Job's. He pays the mortgage, he pays the utilities, you pay nothing, and your name's not on any lease. Shadow looked at Anton's feet, then back up at his face. That means you're standing in Job's house, my friend. Conductor pulled Shadow away and shoved Assassin out. Nothing like this had ever been done before. We had never known exactly down to the body language what was happening when we came out. We had a vague notion, but it was never anything like this. This was a gathering of brothers. This was a team breaking Anton into pieces. This was true domination. Assassin turned his back on Anton and walked slowly away. Anton walked up behind us, and Assassin dropped his hand to his pocket and gripped his knife. He played in his mind exactly where Anton would grip him, based on Anton's size and dominant hand, and he knew based on Anton's height where the strike would come from. The only thing he did not know was if Anton would hit him while his back was turned. But Conductor had that covered. He brought pain forward, and Assassin knew that if Anton did swing in at him and hit him, it would not hurt. Then Assassin would get to work. But for now, he simply walked away. When he turned around, Anton was standing right in front of him. Conductor pulled back Assassin and shoved out Shadow. Never saw gay in you, Anton, but if you want to kiss, pucker up, Shadow said. He grinned and stepped forward, moving his face in to kiss Anton. Anton pulled back instantly with a look of disgust, and Shadow laughed. Job, it is him or me, Anton said. Tell him to get out or I'm gone from your life forever. Anton did get kicked out that day. He came back a few days later to move all of his stuff out. I was with Sunshine when he came and gone before he returned. I moved into that room and Job provided me with a safe place to put it all together again. I had a new alter now, a man that could take charge and make our decision, a man that could move us into place seamlessly. Conductor would be in charge in some way until 2011 when all of this was put together and our new life began. Keep reading. I want to show you how that happened, but walk away now if you are going to doubt me. I'm not trying to convince people. I'm trying to show the world what happened in my mind and the steps that were taken and the events that occurred to make me who I am today. I don't have time for people who think they are experts. I live with this disorder every day. So let's look a little more at Sapphire. I don't want you to miss this next part. Okay, so I clicked on the button to record this. Person said, recording in progress. Earlier I pushed it and she said, reporting stopped. I'm still not used to that. New software. Still not used to that. Okay, so that was the chapter Conductor. Basically what my mind had done is kind of unprecedented when it comes to DID. And that is that it had created somebody that could look over the situation and see when one or the other was needed and tell that whoever was coming forward exactly what was happening in the room at the time. Conductor was a big part of everything that came after. it's weird when you have this disorder, you learn to pick, um, you learn to envision them in a certain way, to see them. And you know that that's not what you look like when you come out, but you do feel like that. You feel like you look like how you envision the person. Um, in my mind, conductors always look like Simon Bard. Simon Bard is a character in my world that I write fantasy in. He is a traveling storyteller. He's got a wide brim leather hat with 2 golden earrings pierced in the brim. He's got a long brown coat, kind of like a duster from the Western, but not really. Battered boots, torn up pants, a staff. That's what conductors always look like to me. He's always looked like the guy that kind of wanders my world and knows all the stories. Okay, so after Conductor, Anton left. And I sat down and talked to Job that day. And I was like, I can't pay you. Soon I'll have money for food stamps and I can start, putting food in the house, but I can't pay you. So what do you want from me? And he was very cool about it. He's a very cool guy. And he said, what I want from you is for you to go to therapy. I want you to stay in therapy and I want you to keep working on your issues and I want you to come to find some kind of peace. He said, your rent is therapy. And so he gave me a place to put myself back together. I started going to therapy twice a week. I went on Monday and Wednesday. Monday, and my therapy was really intense. I was really attacking it, trying to figure out what was what and what was where. So Monday I would go to therapy and talk about some really intense abuse that I went through and some really intense ways that my mind was working and things that I was thinking and ways that I was running my life that weren't working. Monday was always really intense. And it was like ripping open a wound. Like you walk around when you're abused and you've grown through it, you walk around with all these scars. When you go to therapy, you cut those scars open and you sew them up better. And the scar is less noticeable. The damage done when the wound is taken has been healed. So I rip myself open every Monday. And then it was just about surviving the day, you tell yourself, I went through really tough therapy, but I'm going to be okay if I can just do X and Y. X might be if I can just have this particular sandwich for dinner. I'll take the time while I was eating it to put myself back together. Y might be if I watch this particular movie. Sometimes it's if I can just get some tacos from Taco Bell, I'll be okay today. Becky used to pick me up from therapy, and she always brought me a can of Dr. Pepper. And I would drink the can of Dr. Pepper on the way to her house. it would be gone by the time I got there. And usually Assassin was out by that time. He's left-handed. So he would take the can and he'd crush it flat with one hand with just his left hand. Never knew how he did that, but he did it, and Becca saw him do it. Give me a.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see it?
Yep. It is.
He could crush a soda can with one hand. We go to Becca's house and we would see Catherine. Catherine was Guardian's dog, and she loved him more than anything in the world, and she would put him back together again. We're gonna find out more about Catherine as we go on this journey through this season. So Catherine put us back together again, and then we'd go back to Job's house and do whatever was going to get us through the day. Tuesday, we were still really messed up, but Tuesday what happened was I would get drunk. I would start drinking, and Becca and Siren would both go to their houses and they'd wait by the phone. And I would get drunk. All of my alters got drunk at a different rate, and all of them got drunk off of different drinks. So I would get drunk and I'd call Becca, and whatever alter was drunk and talking to her would explain to her what he was thinking, what he was going through, what she was thinking, what she was going through. And then Becca would console us and usually write something down that had come out that we never heard before, and then she talked to us about it. Hang up, and I'm calling Siren. Same thing. Different things were being discussed with different people, and as it all continues, we began to put things together, partially because I was drunk. So then Jed would come home late at night, and he'd walk into a drunk roommate, and he would hang out with us and kind of keep us together and get us in bed. Wednesday, I would go to therapy and rip myself open again, and then for the rest of the week until Monday, I would try to put myself back together and prepare myself for the next week of therapy. My weeks were all emotional and just breaking myself over and over and over again so that I could heal right. It was a hellish time for me, and I learned so much about myself, and I learned how to create a life that that I could be happy in, and that really started with Conductor. So that's what you need to know about that particular part of my life and that particular altar. That's our reading for today. I'm going to take a break for a minute and then come back and explain the Bramble situation, and then I'm going to we're going to call it a day. So I'll be right back. Okay, so the Bramble thing comes to an end tonight. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I don't think it'll be long. it's just like, it's just not very long at this point, and I'm gonna try to make it go by pretty fast here, but I need to take the time to finish this story. It started with a video called Gondik Iron Spine. It was the 4th episode of my first season. This is now the 3rd episode of my 2nd season. And with every episode, I have given you some kind of an update as to what I was finding out. But this is what happened. The Ancestry.com results came in, and I was able to set down all the evidence in front of me, get a look at all of it, and the truth became very plain and clear to me. After everything, I started writing. I started writing the last section of my autobiography called The Progenitor. A progenitor is the person that you come from. And I started writing The Progenitor. I think it took me 4 writing sessions, which is about 7 days, probably 7 days. And when I was finished, I immediately did a blog blast on it, and put The Progenitor out. It was 42 hours, I think, 42 hours.
Yeah, I think it was 45 hours.
It was 45 hours long. I released a blog every 2 hours and 30 minutes. And I told everybody the entire story of Bramble. Basically, we got confirmation twice. Once from 23andMe and once from Ancestry.com. Both very big databases. That there's no way that this man can be, that Char could be my father, and that it looks like Bramble is. So I detail it all out in the blog blast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link all of the blogs in this video, so that if you want to, you can go through and read it all, and really take a look at what I found out and what we've been talking about this whole time when it's laid out in front of you. It all came down to a blog or a chapter, depending on where you get the information, called Son of Bramble. It is the most emotional thing I've ever written. It's heartbreaking, and I'm going to read it to you now, if I can get through it. Those of you who have been following all of it will probably be able to understand everything that you see in here, but I'm going to explain it after, because this is where we end our Bramble story. So here we go. Son of Bramble. Father, can I call you Dad? I owe you a few apologies. I know you don't want them. I know you don't need them. But my soul will burn like it has these last few weeks if I don't get this out. Please just let me say this. And I can go on with my life. I can try to live without you. So when I was in college, after my second semester, me and Berg, we went up to Milwaukee to scare the shit out of Char. Back then I thought Les was worth protecting. I was walking my friend into a situation that I couldn't predict. I had to have help. I needed to be able to get him out of there if the worst should happen. I went to Uncle Wrath. The name is great, huh? I know you love that name. Anyway, I went to Wrath. I walked in his house, and he knew by my face that I was there for business. He sat down, offered me a soda I didn't take, and asked why I was there. This right here is how it went. I'm going to see Char, hopefully to whip his ass. Yeah, fuck that guy. Listen, I'm not sure if he has a crew. Crew? He might have a group of friends. Wrath laughed. Char doesn't have any guy friends. He's incapable of guy friends. The guy's a pussy. Can't chance it. You don't have to worry about this, guaranteed. Look, I do have a friend, and he's coming with me. I'm not going to walk him into a situation I can't walk him out of. I understand. You knew you would. What do you need? Wrath said. I can't come with you. I need insurance. I need to be able to make a call. And he laughed, a high bark of a laugh. You came for Bramble's number. Shit, that's why you're here. Do you think he would do it? Be there if I need him? He leaned in, and Uncle Wrath looked me in the eye. Listen, kid. Bramble would go anywhere and be anywhere if you needed him. He would never let you down. You can count on that. He leaned back. You can take that to the bank. He grabbed the scrap of paper and jotted down your number. You get in any trouble at all, you call that number. Poof. Your trouble goes away. Doesn't matter how many there are. Doesn't matter what they're carrying. You get in a pinch, you call that number. I looked at it and felt warm. I felt you with your arm around me again. You should call it anyway. He would love to hear from you. But I didn't call. All weekend I took out that number. All weekend I stared at it. Had it memorized for a while. When I would get upset for years, I took that number out. Guardians War. Do you remember? You probably didn't hear about it from Wrath, but you know about it now. I had your number in my wallet when Guardian was stumbling down the street in the rain, drunk and sobbing, drunk and howling for justice for those kids. I had that number. One night, Guardian couldn't take it anymore, and he pulled it out in the rain. Within a few seconds, the paper was trash. But he held on to that number in our minds. When everything fell apart, when it all blew away like dust, we gave that number up. Actively sought to forget it. Because all of us thought we'd let you down. We knew you wouldn't be proud of us because we failed. So I guess this is 2 apologies. I'm sorry for not calling you when I needed you the most. I'm even more sorry that I thought you would look down on me for losing that fight. I know now. I know you're proud of me. Guardian can feel that pride when he looks in the mirror. Guess we've got to get to the pool cue too. I didn't get it. I didn't realize what you were giving me. I can still see the splinters of that thing when I hit it against the tree. It shattered in so many pieces, too many to count. The only thing you ever gave me was the object that meant so much to you. Within a day, I had destroyed it. Please, forgive me. I just didn't get it. I got 2 more, but I can't bring myself to write them. They're haunting me. They will always haunt me. I didn't hug you that day. I wanted to. I wanted to pick you off that couch at my aunt's funeral and bring you to your feet. I wanted to hug you and feel your love for me. I could see it on your face. Slade could see it on your face. But I knew if I put my arms around you, I would shatter. I loved Aunt so much. Losing her was beyond painful. It was soul cracking. I'm still not over it. I can see her laugh and her smile. If I'd put my arms around you, I would have broken into sobs. Some sort of stupid pride made me want for you to see me as more powerful than that. When I broke down at her casket, I just couldn't hold it together anymore. I prayed for years that you were out of the room when that happened. Now I wish you'd been there. If you had, you would have picked me up instead of that deviant Char's sister. If you had picked me up and held me, I never would have let go. I could see that look on your face when you sat in two jokers looking at me. I reached a milestone that day, finally able to drink. I want to go back. I want to be there again. One beer, one shot, one toast with you. Maybe you would have said something to tell me or give me a clue. Maybe not, but at least you would have been able to celebrate a birthday with me. The one I'll never forgive myself for is Grandma's funeral. I talked to Uncle Sly that day. I told him I always wished you were my father and that you and Rose could have worked it out. I asked how you were doing. He told me you were dying. Total system failure, he said. I told him I was a martial artist. I told him I rode a Harley. I told him I always wanted to be like you. I asked for your number. He gave it freely, pointed at it, and told me to call you. But I knew I would say those words. I knew I would say that I wish you were my father all my life. And I was afraid that would hurt you. Afraid you would suffer on your deathbed with the thought that I wanted you, but never had you. I didn't want that suffering for you. I wanted you to go freely and peacefully. 3 years I walked around with that number. Again, me stained by the number that I never called. I could have been there. I could have come to see you. You could have told me. I could have let you call me son. I would have called you father. So I guess that's what I'm doing right now. Telling the story that never happened. Telling the story of a loving father I never knew. Wherever you are, call me son. I'm here. Calling you father. Where all can see. Love, your son, Jesse Teller. Okay, so that was Son of Bramble. That was the first time I read it out loud. I wrote it. And after everything that I write, my wife reads what I've written. And then and then we talk about it, and it's real. She has the voice of the goddesses of the goddess of my creativity. And when I write something, it's not real until she says it, until she speaks it out into the air. Well, she read Son of Bramble to me, and it was definitely real. But I think that one was something that I needed to say out loud. So when I read it to you just now, it was real for me for the first time. I guess I started smoking in 2001, 2000, somewhere in there. And I smoked until 2005, and then I gave it up. Well, with the quarantine, we've quarantined ourselves the whole time. A couple days I'll be fully vaccinated with having had it in my system for 2 weeks. My wife already has. My oldest son has taken his first shot of the vaccine. My youngest son here in a couple weeks. We're going to be fully vaccinated soon. And then we'll step out into the world again. But until then, no. Well, when we started the quarantine, I was still writing Normal Street, and we had to deal with all of the emotions that came with Normal Street. And I think it was probably October, maybe November. No, it was earlier than that. I think it was in July. Anyway, somewhere in there, a nurse friend of mine who works in IT right now, testing and creating software for nurses, and other medical people, was called back out onto the floor to work for the hospital, and she was not given a choice. When that happened, she was really upset, and I knew she was going into a very difficult place and a very difficult time. And so she's very comforted by my work, and she reads everything that I write as I write it. So I decided that I was going to write this huge project, and that I was going to write every day so that she would always have something there for her to read while she was doing the thing. And I wrote the story of a genocide, and it was extremely stressful. After I was done with that, I wrote The Keep, or before that, I don't remember how things lined up, but I wrote The Keep, and it was extremely emotional, and I've been dealing with the after effects of The Keep. I've been dealing with this channel. I've been dealing with other factors that are going on in my home and not seeing the outside world. So somewhere in there, I started smoking again. I plan on quitting. I'm good at quitting bad habits, so I plan on quitting. But I started smoking. Well, after reading what I just read, I took a break. I went up and had a cigarette. I finished off my vodka and cranberry juice, and now I have another one. And I'm ready to read this to you. The fact is, I found out that Bramble was my father after he died. You haven't truly thought of the ramifications until I say this, because I didn't really truly think of them until I said this out loud, but that means that I've never had a Father's Day. Never had a Father's Day with my father. And Father's Day is coming. We don't have the money to travel because of the pandemic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a GoFundMe, and hopefully I can get people to donate the money that I need to make the trip to where he's buried. And then I can talk to him. I'm going to read for you the words that I've written for the GoFundMe. And I want you to listen to them, and that's it. I want you to listen to them. And I plan on having the GoFundMe up hopefully tomorrow. We haven't done the work yet, but I hope to have the GoFundMe up for tomorrow. I'm gonna call it Jesse Teller's first Father's Day. I'm gonna call it Jesse Teller's first Father's Day. So we started the Bramble stuff at the story of Conductor and Barrick. I think that's a good place for us to leave it. So here's another reading. Barrick stood before his father's statue and dropped to his knees. "I'm here," he said. "This is where it all stops for me, and where I come looking for my beginning. I look upon your face now and I see a might that I felt in my heart, a might that I always thought myself capable of. I came across the water. I walked the forest of the first tree. I found evil and I fought it, and I brought myself here under power and with will. And I ask you now, what do I do now that I've come before you and seen your face? What would you ask me to do for you, for myself, for my people in my life?" Barrick hung his head and sobbed. He dropped to his hands and knees and stared at the ground. This is Barrick. This is the message I left for myself in my work when I wrote the book called First Tree. First Tree is about many things, but among them is this kid. He's about 18 and he's been a slave all his life. He finally escapes and goes looking for answers. He finds friends and his father who tell him that a monument to his father has been built in a town called Daria. Now he stands at the foot of that tomb and he does not know what to do next. What life can he live without knowing where he came from? What life can he live without the guidance of the mighty man he was birthed to? It was February when I found this piece. I had written it in 2015 and stored it for the day I would publish it. I went on to write so many other books, but in February I came back to edit it and get it ready for publication. First Tree is a book from a series I'm calling The Burdens of Beast that I will begin to publish October 2021. This book will come out October 5th, 2022. First Tree will. When I was revising it, I was working 15-hour shifts. After I was done with this one, it was about 5. I came upstairs while Becca was working, and I tried to tell her what the book was about. I ran through the main protagonist's storyline, and then I came to Barrick, a side story, very important to the plot. While I told her about Barrick and his fallen father, Gondik, I wept. My chest heaved and I could barely stand. I fought to tell him this story for 10 minutes as I talked to the boy who never knew his father and came to the grave looking for anything he might find. By the time I was done telling that story, I was exhausted. I went to the kitchen and collapsed in my chair in the second holiest place for the family we have. Becca came to me, looked at me with a serious face and said, "I need to talk to Informer." Now, Informer is one of the alters of the mind formed because of my DID, dissociative identity disorders, or multiple personalities. Shadow is another one. Shadow looked up with her with wet, swollen eyes. "What?" I just thought of something, and I can't tell you what, I need to talk to Informer to see if this is something I can tell to the rest of you or something I need to tell just him. Not tell the rest of us. I can't live with that. You got to trust me. I need to talk to Informer. It doesn't have to be now, but it needs to be soon. So I went to the holiest, most sacred spot in the teller's entire world, the inner sanctum. Me and Becca went to our bedroom. We sat on the bed, her legs crossed. She sat on the bed, her legs crossed, taking deep breaths while I dropped into my spot on the couch. I lowered my head and from below swooped the one we call Informer. What do you need to say to me, Becca? This is a wild thought, might not make any sense, but before I tell anyone else, I need to ask you if you're ready, if they are ready to hear it. Informer nodded. What is the percentage chance that Bramble is actually your biological father? She sighed, drew in a breath and let it out. Have you thought about it? Can you tell us anything? She looked at him and rested her hands on her knees. Is it possible? Well, the idea was laughable, but Informer has never laughed. He looked at her and said, Rose would have had to have an affair while married to Char. Yeah. She would have had to keep it secret from everyone for 45 years. Almost 46. Of course. He cleared his throat and closed his eyes. So many things were possible in the world, but this was the most impossible. He began to talk. He told every story he knew about Bramble, my Uncle Rath's crew, and everyone around it. He talked about all of it before he shifted out and Shadow came forward. Bramble, my father, I wish. Think, really think. Is it possible? Shadow grabbed his phone and shook his head. I wish, he muttered under his breath. He sent a Facebook message to the Queen of Cats. She dated Wrath for years beyond count. She birthed his daughter Tigress. She knew a lot about Bramble, and she was part of their history I could reach out to. I sent her a veiled message. That was as hard to interpret as the gut. Is it within the realm of possibility that Rose and Bramble had an affair, let's say, I don't know, 9 months before I was born? Her response came immediately and with pause. I do believe there was an affair. I do not know when. A day later leaves us with even more questions as we begin to unravel the tangled web of the family. We learn more and more, and soon we get a hold of Tacy. Tacy's a new member of Becca's family who found us through Ancestry.com and a site called 23andMe, both DNA sites that do tests with DNA and match you to other people that you're related to. She's a nonfiction writer and a masterful researcher. She began pulling up information almost immediately. While she digs, I sent a message to Uncle Wrath. Is it within the realm of possibility that Rose and Bramble had an affair, let's say, I don't know, 9 months before I was born? I added that I was not interested in bringing this to his widow. I had heard Bramble had died in October. I added that I knew Rose and Bramble were soulmates, and I told him I was getting a DNA test. He took it. His answer took no time in reaching us either. I never knew an affair. A DNA test might be a good idea. It took us forever to find out that the man was really dead. There's no record of that death anywhere. But when we did find out Bramble died, we discovered his death had taken place within my release, days within my release of a novel called Plight of Madness. It's the third book in a 4-book series that focuses on fathers and their relationship with their children. The Madness Wars was dedicated to father figures in my life. Bramble died within days that I had dedicated a book to him. The plan is simple. I want my first Father's Day. I've had Father's Days with children. I've cherished every one of them. But I'm finding out now that I never had a Father's Day with my actual father. All my life, I've celebrated false pretenders. With the pandemic hitting us as hard as it has, we don't have the money to make a trip to Milwaukee, to the place where his ashes will be buried. But like Beric, in my life, I've come across the water, fought my way through the forest, and faced evil to get to this place. Now I need to go and face my father. I need to stand before him and ask the questions, the exact questions I wrote 7 years ago. From what I can tell, I need about $1,000 to do this. I'll have to board the dogs, pay for meals and gas. The plan is to take a one-day trip, 10 hours up there, 10 hours back. But if we all get too tired, I need the money to make a hotel stay a reality. If this GoFundMe raises more than $1,000, I'll donate the rest of the money to a small organization dedicated to helping victims of child abuse. When I was young, I went to one of these and it helped quite a bit. I'd like to make this trip on Father's Day. I'll be spending the entire day with my children, and in the end, they will stand with me before their grandfather's gravesite. I would ask you, please, let me come before my father on Father's Day for the first time in my life. Like Beric, I have things to say. I'm going to try a GoFundMe. It's tied to my fantasy work. I don't know if I'll get people interested in it, but I'm going to try. Because I need to stand before Bramble's grave and talk to him about the things I need to talk to him about. If you can help me, please do. If you can't, I understand. I think that's all I have to say in today's episode. I'm filming this at night, so it feels like tonight. But I think that's all I have to say in today's episode. Thank you for following me through the wiles of Bramble and the story of my father. Good night. Please do all the things.